Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Depot Dive. I'm Ross McCorkle, and above me here on the screen, for those of you on YouTube, is Joe Clark. Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Tuesday after a win, especially the short week. A lot going on. This is really the Steelers' only true practice of the week too. So yesterday, I think it was a walkthrough. They maybe even didn't practice, and then tomorrow will be the travel day before the game on Thursday. So a lot going on today, but always easier and better, feeling better after a win. How are things going for you, Ross?
Oh, pretty good. Like you said, it's what we had coordinators today. Russell Wilson spoke today. A bunch of players spoke today. It's been busy, but it's been good because the Steelers are 8-2. They're 1-0 in the division. And I just wanted to highlight too that the Steelers are now in control of their own destiny for a potential 1 seed in the AFC playoffs, which they have not been the 1 seed since Ben Roethlisberger's rookie season in 2004 when they went 15-1. They've been the 2 seed a couple of times. They had a first round bye in 2017 when they were the 2 seed, but as of 2020, when they expanded the playoffs, 2 seed is not going to get you a first round bye anymore. So, the Steelers have at least a decent, I wouldn't say, great chance, but they have a chance at a 1 seed right now. And that is if they win out, it's theirs. The Kansas City Chiefs lost the Buffalo Bills, and so all the Steelers have to do is win out, which would include a win over the Chiefs, of course. The Bills and Steelers don't play, and the Bills have lost both of their losses are in the conference, whereas the Steelers, one of their 2 losses is to the Cowboys in the NFC, and therefore, win out, and you're basically the 1 seed in a first round bye, which I did not expect to be talking about here in the middle to end of November. Pretty crazy that we are here now, but I think everybody's pretty much bought into the possibility that this could be a real team here. Joe, the Steelers won 18-16 against the Ravens. Where do you want to start with this game?
I think just the fact that you can beat the Ravens who enter the game with the best offense in the league by only making field goals is a real testament to just how good the Steelers' defensive game plan was coming in. Obviously, Chris Boswell has to be on point for that to be the case, and he was with 6 field goals, 3 from 50 plus. He was incredible, but just the Steelers' defense, the way they came in, Lamar Jackson was red hot. Came in really looking like a runaway MVP candidate. And he completed less than 50% of his passes. He got going a little bit on the ground, but wasn't anything, didn't really take over the game in any capacity. And just in general, the Steelers really limited what the Baltimore offense could do. The second play of the game, Nick Herbig forced the fumble on Derrick Henry. That really set the tone for how the rest of the game was going to go. And I just was a really impressive defensive effort. The Steelers defense has been good all season. There's been a few hiccups and a few blips. And against the Ravens, this game going in, I think a lot of people thought that, myself included to a degree, thought this would be a little bit more offensive than, your typical Steelers-Ravens game. And then you come out on the other side of it and it's 18-16. It's hard fought. It's gritty. It's physical. It's everything you want and everything you expect out of Steelers-Ravens. But given the way that the Steelers offense had looked with Russell Wilson's moon ball and the Ravens league worst pass defense but their league best offense, and I was kind of expecting like a 28-24 with something like that sort of game, and we didn't get that at all. But yeah, really great job. Testament to Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, Steelers defenders. Everybody stepped up. Nick Herbig made big plays. Peyton Wilson made big plays. TJ Watt came through. Keanu Benton had 3 tackles. Kind of clogged the run early in the middle. Cameron Hayward played great. Dean Lowry even, I think, had a pass back down. Just all around, everybody stepped up, and it was an awesome job. And now they are up 2 games in the loss column on Baltimore. So they're in a pretty good position here going forward. Schedule doesn't get any easier. Still have 4 divisional matchups and the Chiefs and the Eagles on the schedule. But if the defense can play like this the rest of the season, the Steelers are going to be in a really good spot.
Yeah, who would have thought Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels would combine for 7 rushing attempts for 51 yards? And that's, Jaden Daniels, he was 3 carries for 5 yards, way, way below his season average. And Lamar Jackson, by no means, 4 carries for 46 yards. Is that like a great performance for him on the ground? It's not terrible. But he did have a long of 25 in there. And so you're talking about the other 3, he didn't gain that much. They really bottled both of the mobile quarterbacks up really, really well. And, I think it's easy to just kind of talk about it. But the Justin Fields being on the roster, and having that kind of guy to practice against, I think helps a lot. It's kind of an obvious point, but I think it probably helps even more than we give it credit for in terms of preparing for those mobile quarterbacks. So just an interesting note there. But yeah, very bizarre to 6 field goals, not scoring a touchdown, and beating the best offense in the league. I mean, if you told me that the Steelers were going to be 0 for 4 in the red zone, they were going to have an interception. Najee Harris was only going to have 63 yards rushing. I think all of those things would have added up to a very certain loss in my head if you told me all of that before the game. But here we are, with a win over the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson, once again, he didn't have like the worst game ever, but below 50% completion. 207 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, took 2 sacks. I think it was his lowest passer rating and QBR of the season, or if not, very close to it. And so Steelers, once again, are proving to be Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. And, it's easy to kind of write that off as, okay, maybe it's a coincidence, But now we're 5 games, he's 1-4 against the Steelers. And we'll see, I guess, in about a month's time if that holds up again. The Steelers going to Baltimore next time, so maybe a little more hostile. And I think, one play different here and there in this game could have been totally different. It could have been, the Steelers blowing out the Ravens if they had just converted in the red zone a couple of times. If the Ravens hadn't have had kind of freak turnovers like Derrick Henry fumbling, when's that happen? Peyton Wilson's interception is just I don't know if anyone else in football could make that play other than Peyton Wilson, just because of how fast he is. He used every last bit of that 4.43 40 speed to get in position to make that play and wrestle the ball away from him. So yeah, all around very impressive. And like you said, everybody kind of chipped in, especially on defense. I want to talk about the 2-point conversion attempt by the Ravens. It was interesting because at first they appeared to be doing a jump pass from Lamar Jackson, but Mike Tomlin called a timeout and kind of more or less saw what they were going to do because he called the timeout so late. And of course, that made the Ravens switch up their plan, and that's probably exactly what Mike Tomlin was after. In fact, on his press conference on Monday, he said, I can't remember what exactly he said, but he said, "You bet I did," or "You damn right," or something like that, when asked if it looked like that was a jump pass. So it seemed like that was kind of a planned situation there to, kind of take whatever their first play was off the table. And it turns out their second play was kind of a bad play because Derrick Henry wasn't on the field. I mean, I don't know how you don't have Derrick Henry on the field. That's right up there with Russell Wilson throwing instead of handing it off to Marshawn in the Super Bowl. I don't know what you're doing with Derrick Henry off the field in a 2-point attempt. Joe, what are your thoughts on that try? The Ravens not having Derrick Henry on the field, and just how the Steelers handled that.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are running. They ran a similar 2-point play against the Bengals last week with Lamar running to the left, and I think what really happened on that play was Nick Herbig did a great job of taking on multiple blockers, and Joey Porter Jr. kind of read that play as it happened. I think he was supposed to be on Nelson Aguilar or, on that play, and he saw Aguilar going to block. He saw Aguilar going to block and kind of switch from got to cover in man coverage, got to cover Aguilar to going into run defense mode, and so he went over and he did. Herbig taking on 3 guys and getting over there was huge, and I think Terrell Austin said that was the catalyst of the play. But Porter was then able to go and fill, so Jackson couldn't beat Herbig with his pretty incredible speed to the edge. So Herbig made the play, but credit to Porter for kind of reading and reacting on that play and being able to really make that stop. But yeah, I don't really get it from the Ravens, especially even if it was a similar play to the one they ran against the Bengals. It's something the Steelers obviously would see on tape. Even though the jump pass the Steelers kind of called the timeout, you're not necessarily game planning for them to see the exact same thing. If you're Baltimore, maybe just try it again and see if you're confident in the play, see if it'll work. But yeah, I don't understand not having Derrick Henry on the field there. I think your best bet, even though he didn't have a great day, hand it off to him and see if he can plow through for 2 yards. He can fall forward and probably pick up 2 yards on most occasions. So questionable play calling, but it's the second Steelers Ravens game we've seen come down to a 2-point conversion. We had the one, 2021, I want to say, with a throw to Mark Andrews that was just a little bit high or just off his fingertips. So It was a very similar feeling to that watching that game, but I think Herbig and Porter Jr. really were key to that play and stopping it, and just questionable decision making by Baltimore there, maybe overthinking it in a key spot, but Steelers did a good job. They did what they had to do to stop it. So credit to them too for recognizing what was going on and making the plays that they had to make.
Yeah, Nick Herbig absolutely blew that up. Both of those pulling linemen just got completely stuck, and that was the catalyst for it all. I wanted to talk about now the Justin Fields getting on the field for the first time since Russell Wilson stepped in as the starter. Fields got 3 snaps. All 3 were rushing plays. 2 of them were him rushing. One of them he handed off to Najee Harris. Of course, his second snap was 2nd and 11 in a critical moment, basically where the Steelers needed to convert a first down or else risk giving the ball back to the Ravens with Justin Tucker, who had missed 2 field goals, but he's still Justin Tucker, and they were only down by 2 points. So it was kind of a critical moment, and Justin Fields slid a little early. You don't love that. I think he basically stated he does regret that, and next time he would, lower his shoulder if he gets in a similar scenario there. But what do you think about them using Fields finally? Do you want to see, that expand even more? Maybe in the red zone, that kind of stuff. Where are you at on that, Joe?
Yeah, I was a big fan of it. I mean, I think it's something that has been talked about since the begin or before the season when Wilson was originally supposed to start. And even when he took over for Fields, where they were still Arthur Smith hinted at it, Mike Tomlin hinted at, he said something like, "We got both guys, we might as well use them." But it took until this game for them to break it out. I was glad they did because I mean, Fields is so dynamic with his legs. Even if the other side knows, oh, he's probably going to run, he can still make plays happen. I mean, we saw that on the play where he slid. Everybody knows the Steelers are running the football in that situation, and he still picked up what should have been the game-winning first down. So yeah, it's definitely something I want to see more. I would like to see it in the red zone. And I think Alex pointed this out today too on Twitter. It won't be a cure-all in the red zone. They were still only 50% in the red zone when Fields is under center. So it's not going to be anything that, like, even if we do see Fields more in the end zone, the Steelers' red zone offense, which was, I mean, as you said, was 0 for 4 against the Ravens, only 25% in the last 3 weeks. It struggled. It's not going to cure things in the red zone, but I think it might help things a little bit. So yeah, I would like to see it more. I'd like to see it expand. I mean, well, he was with when he had 3 or 4 carries against Baltimore. He had 3, I believe, right?
Sorry, Fields.
That. Yeah.
Two carries, 1 handoff.
Okay, that's right. The other handoff. That's right. So yeah, I mean, I would like to see more. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, carries, RPOs, route options, sort of stuff with him in there a game, just a little bit more, because it worked well against Baltimore, and it's something that I think we saw when he was the starter that worked really well. Him using his legs, and it can add an element to this offense that is tough to stop, especially when you pair it with Wilson's arm. So the two things can kind of go hand in hand. So, but I was happy that they broke it out against Baltimore, and I think they used it, in good spots. They picked their spots well to make it work, and it's just definitely he's an asset. I mean, Arthur Smith said today they have 2 starting quarterbacks, and he even said I think he expanded and said Fields is a premier starting quarterback, so not just a starter he thinks. And Smith was obviously high on Fields. I don't think he really wanted to switch to Wilson, but it's worked out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the two of them kind of work in tandem a little bit more down the stretch.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a situation where every time he comes in the game, they know it's a run. It's basically just going to be a read option. Maybe at least have some kind of RPO element on that, or he proved himself that he's a capable passer with the Steelers. He was making better decisions. It wasn't quite as good as what Russ has been giving them, but I would like to see them, even pass with him when he gets in there. Just make the opposing teams prepare for as many possible things. It's going to eat up more of their practice time and just be an overall benefit for the Steelers. Steelers at 44.4% in the red zone in terms of converting those into touchdowns, which is the 3rd worst in the league, only above the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Talking about two teams who don't even have their quarterbacks anymore. They're below teams like the New England Patriots, the Tennessee Titans. Basically everybody else. So it's rough. And really, if the Steelers can figure that one last thing out, you're talking about a team that is, right up there with the Lions and the Chiefs and the Bills as the best teams in the league. Can they figure that out? That'll be the big question. I'm not super sure yet. It's kind of confusing to me because Russell Wilson was pretty good in the red zone last year. That was one of the few things he was great at, and he's been pretty good there in his career. And so is it, where exactly is that issue coming from? The Steelers have 4 targets over 6'3". You got Pickens, you got Williams, you got Freiermuth, you got Darnell Washington. You got these basically a basketball team there in the red zone if they want to use them properly. So hopefully we start to see that. I know Arthur Smith said that they need to execute better down there. But I would also like just the plays, execution's one part of it, but I would just like to see who they're putting in there and the plays that they're calling. I mean, we shouldn't be targeting Van Jefferson down there when you could get a guy like Mike Williams in the game. And I get he's probably still learning the playbook, but, I just don't really think Van Jefferson has a huge role in the red zone if I'm being honest there. So, that's going to segue us into the second topic, which is a quick turnaround to the Browns. And interesting to me, and something that some of the Browns players talked about today, is they played the Saints on Sunday, and they got absolutely torched, in part because of Taysom Hill, who rushed for 3 touchdowns and had, I believe, like 220 all-purpose yards as kind of that, quarterback / running back / wide receiver / tight end, just kind of offensive weapon that they use him as. And so seeing something like Fields, the Steelers have Fields. I think the Browns are obviously preparing for Fields. They just got torched by Taysom. They don't want a similar thing to happen. Do you think the Steelers saw what Hill did and it will have any effect on their plans on using Fields, maybe a little more?
I think they saw it. I think part of that will be they know the Browns might be a little bit more prepared for it, knowing how badly that they got torched by Hill. But I think the two of them are just they're different enough as players. I mean, I think Hill had something like 8 receptions in that game too. He was getting it done through the air as well. I mean, outside of a trick play, which hey, by all means break one out. And Mike Tomlin did say that the playbook won't be stagnant on Thursday, and they're going to explore ways to open things up a little bit, which obviously isn't going to mean a pass to Justin Fields, but I do think that they could take a few things from New Orleans' playbook when it comes to using Fields' legs and getting him the ball the way the Saints did with Hill. And I mean, the Browns just were woefully unprepared to stop him on Sunday. I mean, the offense for Cleveland on Sunday looked good, but Hill just completely torched them on the Cleveland defense. So it wouldn't be a surprise if Fields saw a few more snaps, and I would welcome him to see a few more snaps. And on a short week, it might be good. You don't have to rely on Russell Wilson as much. Fields, as we said, only had 2 carries against the Ravens, so he might be a little bit fresher. And the Cleveland defense is going to be tired coming in off a short week too. So take advantage of that speed, wear him down a little bit, as the Steelers did early in the season when he was at quarterback. Ground and pound, rely on the run. Especially, I mean, there's snow might be in the forecast. There's like a 42% chance as of this morning that the city of Cleveland gets hit with snowfall. So if it's going to be a mucky kind of game, then you're going to have to win on the ground. So I would love to see the Steelers kind of use Fields a little bit more. I don't know if Hill will influence it, as much, but I think the Steelers still probably want to increase what they've been doing with Fields in the playbook, and seeing that last week might kind of incentivize them to do so more this week.
Yeah, some other notable storylines from the game. It's Nick Chubb's first time playing the Steelers since his injury against them a year ago. That should be, I think he definitely he knows this one means a little bit more. I think some of the Steelers, Terrell Austin, the Steelers defensive coordinator, said the, game plan kind of starts and ends with Nick Chubb, stopping Nick Chubb, and that's, rightfully so. And he's healthy. He's one of the best in the league. Last week, he had 11 carries, 50 yards. Not a huge volume thing, but 4.5 average. I mean, he's still Nick Chubb, and I think he's, getting healthier by the week. So potential for him to have a big game. Right before he got injured last year, he was in the middle of having a monster game against the Steelers in just like 1 quarter before he suffered that injury. What was the other? Myles Garrett had some interesting comments today. Asked about TJ Watt, and Watt kind of, it wasn't a direct jab at Myles Garrett, but Watt was just frustrated that he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year last year. And they asked Garrett about that, and Garrett was basically like, well, you didn't see me complaining when I didn't win it. And it's like, well, you didn't have the clearly stat advantage like TJ did, but that's besides the point. But anyway, he kind of didn't take shots at TJ, but he kind of, was sort of as close as you can get without actually taking shots. So that's an interesting one to watch. TJ obviously is going to see that, and I would imagine he wants to have his best game and put his best foot forward in a game against Myles Garrett. Obviously, they don't play on the field at the same time, but they are absolutely looking at each other's statistics there at the end of the game and comparing them. I would guarantee you that. A win clinches another winning season for Mike Tomlin, so cue up the outrage for people when we write up the 18th consecutive winning season for Mike Tomlin. I think it deserves a lot of credit, especially in a year like this where they're 8-2 and they're gonna clinch a winning season before, before December, which is pretty crazy. So, is there any other topics from the Browns here that we wanted to get to? Trap game. Do you believe it in trap games in the NFL? Do you think this could be a trap game? They're playing the Bengals next week, and the Bengals are somehow losing a lot, but they look very scary. And I think they're definitely going to give the Steelers some fits in a lot of ways, especially with their offense. So, trap game. Do you believe in that?
I think trap games can be real. I don't think that this is a trap game because I just don't think divisional games can really be trap games. I mean, you're looking at two sides that know each other pretty well. Kevin Stefanski's been in Cleveland for a few years, and then they have a new play caller in Ken Dorsey now. I just don't really foresee the Steelers going into this game and not being prepared and kind of overlooking the Browns. I just don't really think you overlook divisional opponents in the NFL. No matter even, I mean, they have inverse records, but we saw the Browns beat the Ravens a few weeks ago. So, given the fact that it's still a rivalry, it's still a divisional rivalry, I don't really think that this would fit a trap game. Just because it's two teams that really want to beat the other one. I mean, Nick Chubb said that somebody asked him today during his press conference, like, "Oh, what would it mean for like the city to beat the Browns? Like, what would it mean for you guys?" And he was basically like, "Yeah, we're in a huge hole, and it's our fault that we're 2-8, blah blah blah." But he's like, we definitely want to get this one. He's like, you know what it'd mean for the city of Cleveland. So, I mean, it's a rivalry game. Both teams really want to come up on top. The Browns, kind of a lost season at this point, but fan base will be a little bit happier if they beat the Steelers. A little goodwill for, the coaching staff in the front office in a lost season. So the players are going to want to come out fired up. The Steelers want to clinch a winning season. I don't want to lose to the Browns. I don't want the embarrassment of losing to the Browns. And I think TJ Watt said today too, they asked him, do you have to like tell guys to get up for this one? He said that's what's special about this year's team is you don't really have to fire guys up. Guys are already pretty much fired up and ready to go. And so I don't think the Steelers are going to come out flat in this one. I think they'll be ready to roll against Cleveland, despite the fact that they might on the surface appear to be some sort of trap game with the Browns at 2-8 on a short week. But I think the Steelers team is going to be ready to go and hit them in the mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think those Browns players have checked out on Stefanski. He's a two-time coach of the year, and if he had lost the locker room, I think we'd be hearing a lot more about him potentially being shown the door. But I don't think that I've heard any of that at all. And so I think they kind of want Stefanski to usher them through this era of transition as they try and figure out what the heck to do at quarterback. I don't think they've fully closed the door on Deshaun Watson, but yikes there. So. Moving into our last topic here, just a quick injury roundup. Alex Highsmith was out last game. He got injured 2 games ago, and he's likely still out for this week. Mike Tomlin on Monday hadn't really checked in with him, but the injury report isn't looking positive for Highsmith, which is expected. Maybe he could be in contention for next week or certainly the week after that. I think we'll be seeing Highsmith again. Keanu Benton and Joey Porter Jr. both exited the game. Porter came back at one point and then I think exited again. But it sounds like both of them are good to go. Or what was their official status today?
Porter hasn't even been on the report. Porter, neither of them have been on the report this week, so they're both.
They're both good to go. Wow. That's great because Benton looked pretty injured when he was on the turf there. So very good news there. That would have been very unfortunate for this defense. But yeah, both of them are good to go. Corey Trice Jr., he could return, which is good. I think, C.J. Henderson ended up getting sent to IR.
Yep, last
And
week.
the Steelers brought in Eric Rowe, a familiar face there at safety on the practice squad, which is interesting. Probably more of just some insurance, kind of to replace what they when they released Terrell Edmonds, I guess, recently. He's kind of a replacement for that, and he played pretty well for them last year. So a guy who's familiar with the system, probably a smart, savvy move there. But yeah, Corey Trice Jr. hopefully returning soon. His practice window was open last week, and he was a full participant both on Monday and Tuesday, though Monday was estimated, so didn't actually practice. But he was full today. So hopefully we see him get activated there over the next 24 to 48 hours leading up to the game. And I think that's everything for the injury report, which means we are transitioning into our listener question. We have somebody called in. I believe this is a first-time person from, I believe, Minnesota, St. Paul. Looks like. Let me get that queued up here.
Hi, Joe and Ross. Love the show and your insights. One thing I was thinking about is dialing back the clock about 30 years to the rookie year of Cordell Stewart, and they used him in a variety of roles. What do you think about the Steelers implementing something like that with Justin Fields as the slash role, putting him on the field with both him and Russ Wilson, and he hasn't lined up at wide receiver at all, but that would give the defense just one more thing to worry about. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks. Dan from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Sorry, not John. It's Dan. Thank you, Dan, for giving us a call. And we hope that you will call us back. If anyone wants their question answered, that's 412-254-3145. You can call or give it a text for a chance to have your question answered on a future episode. Dan asking about Justin Fields and kind of going all the way back to Cordell Stewart and that slash role. I think this question came in before Sunday's game. And obviously we talked a little bit about this. Justin Fields getting his chance to get on the field, take 3 snaps, ran the ball twice, did pretty well with those 2 runs. And the other one, I think it was the exact same play. He had the option to pull it, but they kind of didn't crash down. They kind of were containing him, and so he handed it off to Najee Harris to convert on that critical 3rd down there after he slid early the play before. And so, yeah, Justin Fields is kind of starting to get worked in like that. I think we both kind of expressed that we would like to see more of that, especially in the red zone. I don't know if he's going to ever get to the level of a Stewart back in those days when he was, seeing way more snaps. But I think, if you could get Fields on the field for 7 snaps a game or something like that, 5 to 7 snaps a game, I think that would be a sweet spot and a good thing for the team overall. Do you have anything to add to that, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know if we get to the point where we'll see, Fields line up at wide receiver or anything like that, but I'm sure there are ways they could probably find a way to tweak things a little bit, maybe some sort of wildcat package with him out wide if they want to do something like that, hand him the ball or have him, throw in a reverse pass. But at this point in the season, what they've done has worked so far. So I don't think there's really need to get, too crafty with it. I just kind of agree that they should try to get him on the field more. I like that suggestion, 7, 8 snaps a game. See what he can do under center as a runner and maybe, throw a ball or 2 just to keep the defense on their toes. So that's definitely something that I would like to see them continue to do going forward.
All right, Dan. Well, thank you so much for your question. We hope to hear back from you. Again, if you guys want to have your question answered, that's 412-254-3145. I'm Ross McCorkle. That's Joe Clark above me on the screen. And we will catch you guys next week, hopefully after another Steelers win.